Hi everyone, and welcome to the Good Planets podcast. Today we have an incredible guest, Ayo Dada, whose career spanning over a decade of competitive running and has established himself as a cornerstone in both athletics and professional development. As a qualified England athletics coach and captain at Adidas Runners London, he spent over 6 years helping athletes reach their potential best. Professionally, Ayo makes significant contributions as a senior policy officer where he supports economic development and shapes tech policy in London. Recently, he's expanded his role in the athletic community by becoming a World Athletics licensed agent, dedicating himself to the empowerment of up-and-coming athletes, guiding them towards successful careers. Ayo, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
What was it about Adidas Run Group that drew you to it?
Mine was, you never, ever forget how people make you feel. You forget the words always. Because people can blah, blah, blah. But that initial warmth, I was like, this is nice. I felt warm. I felt hugged by the captains and coaches that day. And I just went back. And that was July 2016. But of course, I already had a bit of bias because I was an Adidas fan through football. Yeah. Like, Bex, Kaká. Yeah. So of course, exactly. So I just thought, like, I had already affinity for the brand because of some certain values. But that was only through football. Yeah. Like running, it came at a later time, and that was the kind of journey there. But just that warmth I felt, and that warmth I received, I passed it on to others, and I think I'm seeing it in some of my 90% of my coaches, they do the same thing. When we get a new community member in, they pass on that energy, so it becomes like a cycle. That's why people stay in the community. We have people that have been there 5-6 years, people that have met I met my girlfriend there, so like it's crazy. It's crazy.
How did you get into sport?
Well, I play like anyone, like all of us. We play football. We play team sports. We play team sports at school, playground. But there's like running is so silo unless your parents, or unless you have that kind of access to the opportunity. You're unlikely to do it. Maybe you live near a track club. Maybe one of your parents competed, or maybe a teacher at school saw you. Like with Mo Farah, saw some talent in you and like gave you the resources, you're likely to make it in running or have an interest in running, or maybe you played some sport like at a good level, but it's really hard. So I just played football at school, loved it. Then it was, I think I mentioned to you, 2012 Olympics. I saw park run being advertised in my local newspaper. Spoke to my friend Hussein, who next door. I said, look, let's check out this park run. Went the day after. That is it. I was like, I ran 21 minutes, and the park run community, again, goes back to communities. We're like, wow, you're amazing, 21 minutes. Wow, you're fast. I had no concept of that. It's just arbitrary time in my head. And yeah, they welcomed me and Hus. And I just kept. Hus decided not to go the same road as me, but he still runs. But I just thought, let me just go ahead into this. So that was 2012, but I didn't take running seriously, or I didn't. It became less of a solo endeavor until 2016, where I felt the community was a springboard for me. Yeah. So like in that 4 years of doing it by myself with Hus, park run, there was still something missing. I tapped into some communities, but yeah.
Olympics this summer in Paris.
Yep.
Like, what are your sort of like thoughts about that? Like, are you still like really excited? I know, like growing up myself, like I just like some of my like best sort of childhood memories are like watching the Olympics and really getting into it and getting like super emotional with so many like different sports and things. Like how are you feeling about this summer, and like what and where you're at now, like what impact you feel it's going to have with you?
It's probably still the same impact as like 2012 home Olympics, or as all Olympics for me actually, because growing up with like a love of sport. Because I think the UK, we kind of like support young people to take part in sport, like through PE, even though it's not structured. It's like, play football. Like, it's a sports heavy nation. So yeah, I've always been interested in sport just by a byproduct of like our environment, but taking it to that next level was probably because of seeing stuff like the Olympics, professional footballers. That's probably where the real interest grows. Like these are maybe your heroes, your mentors, people you look up to. Like, oh wow, I want to be like them, or I want to emulate them, and you want to do that. So this Olympics, I think I've also grown into the sport. I see the sport from a different lens, which is maybe why I'm more interested. I see it from multiple lenses. I see it from the athletes themselves. I see it from a marketing lens. I see it from a brand lens. I see it as a coach lens. I see it from athlete development lens. So I'm a bit more dialed in. I watch some sports. I'm like, look at the way he or she is moving. Biomechanically, I'm fascinated. So maybe that's why I'm more. Every Olympics, as the Olympics go on, I'm a bit more dialed in now. I see it from multiple lenses. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I bet it is actually.
Yeah. You just.
Wow. Yeah. And then we're just with that underlying love of sport underneath it, then that's really special.
It's
right?
a match made in heaven.
Yeah. So you know, if we try and call you in the Olympics, there's going to be no answer, man.
Literally,
Right?
literally for those 2 weeks, I'm just locked in. Of course, I have I have a growing interest, or I have an interest in running in the track, in the running sports, running disciplines more than the others. So that's where I'll probably be doing 5,000 meters, men's, women, 10,000 meters, the marathon. Yeah, so very exciting. And I think also from my agent qualifications, I went into another realm of sport, like understanding the World Athletics regulations behind athletes, behind stadiums, behind athlete participation, the gear they must have. So I've seen it. Now I understand when athletes can't wear something, or they must wear a certain millimeter of shoe, or they must have their brand logos positioned in the right. So I know that because of the research, of the exam I did, the revision, understanding that landscape, which is, unless you're in the world, you probably have no clue as to why these things happen. Like there was what was it? It was like, I knew it, that athletes aren't allowed to get drinks from spectators. Like you know it, but there's actually rule regulations that elite athletes starting like marathons, they're not allowed to get drinks from spectators unless they'll be disqualified. Yeah.
In that case, there's something in it.
Yeah, exactly. Doping controls. But yeah, doping controls, that is another level. Like to making sure that athletes run clean, and it's the responsibility of the agent, the coach, and the athlete. So we all play a part in the athlete maintaining clean participation in the sport, and also the athlete's development. So yeah, the agent's role, and I think all agents should try and be coaches, or coaches should be, I don't know, there needs to be, like, you need to understand the athlete from a sports element, a people element, which probably agents have, but also understanding for their sport, what the demands of the sports require as well. So I think I'm quite fortunate in seeing it from both lenses, or I've become an agent through the avenue of being a coach. Yeah. So yeah, I come at it from a different angle. Some agents don't. They see it as sports marketing. So maybe perhaps they see the athlete as a product.
Knowing you and the human you are, and the big heart you have, everything, and the humility, like, you're going to be a very attractive proposition for athletes, because you're coming in from a coaching perspective and the agent perspective, and not like, that's not going to be the case in all instances. You're going to have an understanding of everything from another level for them, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's essentially what I want, especially for young athletes who are probably coming into the sport quite naive, with big dreams and expectations, and there are people, sharks out there, who maybe want to take advantage of them, and that you hear about in the sports. There's the dark side of this world that you read about, you learn about, and I just want to give these athletes a springboard to grow from. to not only in the sport, but like in terms of personal development, because one injury and it's over for you. Like you hear about this in like football, but how do you give them the soft skills so they can make an economy for themselves? Like maybe they go into coaching, maybe they become an agent themselves, but how do you give them life lessons as like things that I've learned from my professional life? Like, so that's the another angle I'm bringing at. Like I've been working for nearly 10 years now, supporting businesses from an entrepreneurial lens. So how do you combine those worlds and give those athletes those tools, those skills? Yeah.
What's the average like retirement age of that tier of athlete in track and field and athletics?
Well, I guess it varies from the discipline, right? But I think now with sports science, with athlete care, their own personal care, with the advancements in technology in the sports, athletes are participating at up until a later age. Like we're seeing it in football. Footballs, there's some outliers, but like if athletes look after themselves, like we're seeing them compete into later and later ages. There was an athlete that ran London Marathon, came second, Kenenisa Bekele, is 41. So again, it's down to the individual, but there is longevity in the sport in terms of like how do they look after themselves, nutrition, mindset. But and also we're seeing that marathon runners are getting better with age. I think there's that you're coming at it in that part of the sport with so much experience under your belts that as you're getting to your mid 30s, late 30, you're actually getting better with that. So we always say that marathon runners get better with age because of the experience they've perhaps had on the track or years of distance running. But there are outliers like the late Kelvin Kipton, which was, I forgot his age, 20x, 21, 22. Like he was one of the outliers. He had a short track career and he went straight to the marathon and setting the marathon world record last year. So that like you're seeing some young athletes really killing it at marathon distance now. So yeah, like the marathon is special because you can come at it with wisdom and patience, or you can go gun-ho with that youthful exuberance, and you could probably still get the same results. And you're seeing that at opposite scales. Like some young people are just going at it. I don't care if I blow up. Like I'm not running with skill or tactics. I'm just running as fast as I can. And if I run like a negative second half, a positive split, so a slower second half, I'll do it. And it's good to see. But I think what you'll find is as those athletes mature, they start to come at it with a more concentrated, tactical lens is brilliant. So yeah, to answer the question, I guess it varies, but I think that the sweet spot for athletes is that 25 to 30. I think that's a sweet spot across all track and track and road disciplines.
I mean, with longevity, it's great that they're getting older and still able to compete, but there's still a long runway left of life. So I think it's really important that you're able to give them the tools to take that forwards. I mean, where did this idea come from?
The ideas come to me or as a result of the processes or that I've been in. Essentially, all the roles or all the projects that I've created have come and I've seen the issue is, or the solution is, if you give athletes the right tools, resources, they will go to the next level. They will outdo their own targets. They will break the ceilings. They will break boundaries. So give them the right tools, be it young athletes, old athletes, the right tools, be it athletic tools, so mindset tools, nutrition tools, recovery tools, personal development. They will ultimately do well. But it has to be the right tools and also sometimes the right athletes at the right time. Because so you might give an athlete these tools and they may not be ready to. So that is a component that you have to think about, because you could give all the athletes everything in the world if they don't have the right dedication, commitment to the craft, it's over. It's wasted. So yeah, for me, it was more like experience in delivering these projects for brands, for Adidas, and also from at work as well. So my role over the last 10 years is giving businesses the right support to start the business, to scale the business, to internationalize the business. So it comes at in my world is interventions. So give people the right interventions to take themselves to the next level. So I've kind of taken that intervention mindset into running and giving people the intervention. So next stride, yeah, is as a result of my personal, my sporting, and my professional life. And I see it in myself as well. Like, I changed my running from probably 2019 after the first speed project is when I just ran across the desert and I had these right tools, the right nutrition mindset. Let me change the way I run. And since 2020, my running has just gone like this. Really? Like PBs every year. Yeah, keep on touching with PBs every year across all distances. But I've just, it clicked, like right tools, right person, right mindset, and take it to the next level. So yeah, I've seen it myself as well.
There's a big through line that's consistent through your personal life, your business life, and your sport. So I think you started to touch on it, and we both wanted to really explore it. It's like, what are you taking from the sporting world and the business world and passing over to each other because you see the benefits? Like, can you give us some more examples of that?
Yeah, I think is number one, what I'm taking from the sporting world to like the professional world to the entrepreneurial world is that athlete's mindset. Like that athletes, you can fail, but they'll go again. Like that determination to keep on going. You might not hit the PB now, but there's more opportunities to hit it. And you take that kind of mindset of like learn things, break things, go again. And you take that into a business world, but not and like, okay, cool, that didn't work. Let me try something else. Okay, cool. I was working on that project at work. This is the angle I came at it last time. I got mixed results. Let me try another angle. So it's like taking that sporting gung-ho-ness, gung-ho-ness, and tenacity, determination to keep on going. Yeah. Then I guess what I'm taking from my entrepreneurial, professional life into running is kind of that structure, that standardization. Is like that process-driven spreadsheets and Google Sheets and that formality, and taking it into kind of running. Like I'm self-coached. I'm self-learned about running, but learn from also the great coaches. So it's that kind of that knowledge attainment that I want to get better. I want to learn, and that comes from that kind of professional, academic life that you take into running. Because running is a skill, sport is a skill. Running is a skill, and you need to understand yourself, understand the body, understand your landscape, your environment. Like it's something that you can learn through experience, but also learn through meeting people like yourselves, learn from elite athletes, elite coaches, from books. Books are the best teacher. Like learning stuff about nutrition, biomechanics, so that's what I take from my professional and entrepreneurial life, is that kind of standardization of that formality of doing things into running and athletics.
Quickly before I forget, your two key athletes that you're starting Next Stride with, they're coming at this. They're refugees into this country. Yeah. Tell us a bit about that and the unique kind of hurdles and barriers that are kind of in the way for them that you're trying to sort of eradicate. Because obviously you see their talent as like really, really, really top athletes here, but they'll be facing difficulties that others sort of wouldn't.
Yeah, certainly. I guess Seifu and Kadir, they both represent. They come at the sport from a different avenue, whereas they are not UK citizens. So they won't have access to that kind of support that UK citizens and that are in the sport will get. So coming at it with, if I believe that if they were UK citizens and competing at this, many more doors will open for them in terms of opportunities, through the national body, through brands. Like English is not their first language, and they're still learning themselves. They're only allowed to work certain hours, so there's the financial element for them. So they don't have the resources to be able to do other things in the UK. So sport is almost, you could argue, is their only lifeline now. That's why I think that for them, you also need to think about what can they do outside of the sport. Like, how do you upskill them in their English, giving them vocational skills? Like, how can you build them outside the sport in case they don't make it? What can they do, or what can they access to grow outside of the sport? So yeah, for them, it's like the barrier is that they're not UK or British citizens, so they can't access a lot of the resources and support that many people on their kind of talent trajectory will have by being native citizens. So that's a issue within the sport that the national body needs to look at, that there'll be certain individuals that want to represent our country, that they've fled poverty, they've fled war in their countries, and they found a home away from home in our country. And why can't we also give them the tools and resources to do so? We saw it with Sir Mo Farah, who came into this country at a young age, and there was a PE teacher that saw him, and that started his trajectory to success. And he's one of the, if not the greatest distance runner we've had. So why can't we take examples like that and create a pathway for success for people that want to compete and represent our country?
You're actively trying to create that pathway,
Yeah,
right?
100%. I think with every fiber of my body, I think it's something that we need to be doing, even if it's at a small scale. Why can't we just give them perhaps stuff like even free race entry, give them access to the right equipment to participate in, maybe give them opportunities to join training camps with other athletes at their level, opportunities to represent England, or again, just is access to opportunities that will allow them to grow. So yeah, that's my role as a friend. Number one, I'm their friend before an agent. Then as a coach, aspiring coach, or at that level to support elite athletes. And number three, as their agent. So that's how I see as them, is I want them to grow as humans. They're in this country for less than 5 years. Why can't they have the opportunities that I had growing up, or my friends have, like good education, opportunities to make money and grow income for themselves? Why not? Why should we create these barriers for these people? If we can just change the way the system operates. These people have come to this country not because they want to. They flee in war, terror, trauma, and they see this place as their home. So why can't we actually make it their home, a welcoming home for them?
So I'm so pumped for your journey with Next Stride. Staying on this for a second, like if you dialed forward 5 years, 10 years time with the agency, what's your, because I know you'll have all your strategies in place, but I'm sure you're going towards some pretty crystal clear goals. What are they?
So my dream, or my aim, is to have at least one athlete from Next Stride at LA 2028. That's the aim, is to have at least one athlete from our team at the next Olympics there. So that's a 4-year journey, and in that 4 years, at least one or two of my athletes will represent England or Team GB at like championships races within that next 4 years. But LA 2028 is the target, and but for me, I hope to maybe take the business and the agency to another level. Like I don't want to grow too fast where I'm not providing that support to, like you see many agencies have 50, 100 athletes, but perhaps you ask those athletes, are you receiving the kind of support that you require from your agency? Maybe you're just getting just race entry and that's it, but are they growing you as a person? Are you just an athlete in their eyes? And I think everyone that's part of Next Stride and everyone that will be part of the Next Stride, we see them as people first. Then yeah, athletes second, because like this sport you can argue that there's not much opportunities to create an income for yourself, like through the actual competing in the sport. So you almost have to do things outside of the sport, like brand partnerships, providing, maybe you become a coach yourself, or you do some marketing work, or you partner with some brands. Like how do you make yourself a brand as well? So like how do you support these athletes to do so to create the awareness for themselves, support them with even basic stuff like how to post on Instagram, how like giving them those tools that they haven't had, like they haven't, because they've lost out, because they've lost a bit of their childhood. So how do you even give them those basic communication skills?
Amazing. Coaching, obviously huge part of your life. Flipping it around the other way, we've never spoken to you about this before. Like on the receiving side for you, tell us a bit more about the kind of if there are any really influential and like pivotal coaches that you've had on both the sort of business and the sports side, and what impact or lasting lessons that have stuck with you.
Yeah, again, it goes back to my first experience at Adidas Runners. Like the two coaches there, like the lady named Cloudy, and you may know him, James Paul. Yeah, so they were like the first coaches I'd experienced in that kind of formal way, and like I learned so much from them, like so much in how to kind of work with athletes, how to kind of put the athlete first. So like seeing the athlete as people and training and creating programs, plans for the athlete, not the discipline. So I was really fascinated in how they conducted themselves, and that kind of drew me to them as people. But also that actually created an interest in me to want to learn. I think 2016 was the turning point for me to take my learning outside of Adidas Runners and read books on, like, hear about inspirational coaches like Renato Canova, like how does he conduct his training, how does he work with athletes. So yeah, that innate interest was there, but I think the catalyst was that kind of seeing coaches in real life exercise their coaching. So that's essentially how it started for me in terms of coaches. Then that went on for me to do my coaching licenses, continue to work with young kids, coach them in movement, and giving them those tools again. Then in terms of like business, professional coaching, I've been very fortunate to have great bosses around me throughout my professional journey, from being at Virgin Startup, working for UK Trade and Investment, and in my current role at the GLA. So I've seen good leaders. I've been very fortunate to work for good leaders, seeing how they support people that work under them or people that work with them, and that learning I've seen and taken into my coaching there. So again, I always say that these two lives have always blended. Like I see them as kind of one life because I'm learning from people that are providing like how can I describe, how can I articulate this? Yeah, I'm learning from like professional leaders, but also like athletic running leaders, and they're both on the same journey to make people better. Like, so I'm always chuckle and say, yeah, wow, gosh, I'm quite fortunate to do this. And I think taking both sides of that coin has made me who I am, because yeah, you might not certainly or necessarily have that experience or have that opportunity to be both involved in sports and also maybe entrepreneurial, professional environment.
What are some of the greatest lessons you've learned from your coaches or your mentors in either field? Or are they the same?
It's kind of the same, actually. I think it's the put people first approach. It's like put people first, give them the tools, allow them to build themselves, allow them to fail, but also be there to guide them if they are going to fall. Because I think the job of the coach is to make sure the athlete doesn't do anything stupid. Because 90% of the time, the athlete can do everything right. It's just that 10%, they may go off too fast in a race. How do you support them to bounce back from that? They may do some additional unneeded mileage, but how do you support them to say you don't need to do that? So how do you provide that support to them? So yeah, I think it is kind of the same, that in both avenues, those leaders, those mentors, those coaches have the same role: make people better. That's it. Like forget the athleticism or the attainment of professional skills. Is like just make them better people.
That I mean, that's the through line with everything that really charges you up, isn't it? It's like you're helping people to become like the best sort of version of themselves. Where does that come from?
Yeah, it's a very tough one, but I think it all boils down to my immediate surroundings, my immediate environment, friends, family, and seeing the way they conduct themselves. Because I think the environment is the key to your mindset and to your success. So
Can you talk a bit about like the difference between low agency and high agency people and what that means? So like, you know, if you're changing the environment for a low agency or high agency person, what does that mean?
sure, I think I see like a low agency person as someone who has the pathway to succeed, but may not have the skills. And when I mean the skills, it could just be skills like confidence, determination, but they have the that twinkle in their eye, and almost they need to be lit up like a dynamite. Like, how do you turn that person who doesn't have the aspiration to want to grow? Boil it down, they have the potential, but that potential hasn't been unearthed. That is it, yeah. It's unearthing that potential. So how do you unearth the potential in a low agency person to turn them to a high agency person, someone that's a high performer, good determination, has those skills, ready to change the world? And a lot of people have that potential, but perhaps that it hasn't been unearthed. So you could maybe argue that my potential was unearthed through my environment and by the things I saw, and that maybe that's turned me to the person that I am now. There, yeah. So that's why I see as a low agency person, has the potential, but doesn't know how to tap into it.
Doing good for somebody else. It's the best feeling.
It's the absolute best.
It's the
feeling.
best.
The best is the best feeling ever. I think in life, you have to wake up every morning. Are you going to be an energy giver or energy taker? For me, I'm giving energy. Like, I can't take energy from people. I have to give. And sometimes that's at the detriment of my own kind of energy, because at the end of every day, I'm tired. I want to go to bed at 8 because I'm giving so much energy out. But I feel good. I feel good. There's that element. So yeah, it's the outcomes. I think I know the power of giving people the right giving them the right intervention at the right time, is not only changing for them, but it goes back to that network effect project I did for Greenhouse Sports. Is like, you change the life of one young person, it changes the life of themselves and their immediate network. You give that young person the tools, that young person's gonna be just gonna go home and say, "Mum, let's go for a walk." That changes the health outcomes of the mother or the father, and that wider network. So yeah, it goes back to that, like, change one life, the power to change other lives is there. If we change one life, we've won.
You switched your running to early morning then, have you?
I've always been flexible with my running, always, and I think all athletes should be. I don't think you should be too fixed on when you run. I think you should run. I don't think it's good. If you are training, if you are operating, you shouldn't miss runs. Like, you've got that target. But I think you should have an element of flexibility, especially if you're an athlete that has a full-time job or has other things that you do, that you should be kind of flexible. Like myself have a full-time job, so I can't be like, okay, cool, I need to run X. But I think I don't miss, like, if I'm training for a marathon block, I won't miss runs, but I can do them any time of the day. So having that flexibility is very important there, as an athlete, as a person, I feel.
Talking to sort of like gratitude and how you bring that, is that a big part? Is that a big element in your life or not? I don't know. How do you bring that into like your sport and your business? And you've mentioned this already in the interview of how sort of blessed you feel that like you have this life that, you know, it's been very intentional, but you have got this phenomenal, like, is there a big kind of like, is gratitude a big part of your setup with your?
It's there. It's there in the sense that I know that I'm kind of fortunate to have landed here, but also it's positioning to element. Like, I've kind of been intentional and positioned myself to accept these opportunities, because of course I know that if I maybe stick at something for a long time, I know that it's likely that I may succeed at it, then I may attain some skills, opportunities that I may be able to distribute to others. So yeah, the gratitude is definitely is there. It's part of is a value that I have.
Confidence, like, where do you sit around sort of confidence? Like, are you naturally, like, you come across always as this really sort of enthusiastic person, very, very successful, obviously very, very fast with your race times, whether that's the first, like, park run that you do and you go there and just walk away with the trophy, it's like, oh, is that fast? So like all the marathons you do now, Speed Project. But kind of like deep down, honestly, that voice that's in your head, that confidence, are you a really confident person? Do you battle against like internal sort of negative self-talk a lot, or are you just like you've found tools to overcome that?
No, I think I'm naturally a positive person, but in terms of confidence, no, I'm not naturally confident. No. I think, you know what, running has given me a sense of confidence. Like, when I mean, like, it's given me an opportunity to express my talent, and that's given me a sense of confidence. Like, I'm not like elite level, but I can perform to a good standard, and that kind of gives me the confidence to move forward as well. Like, I've had some running setbacks in terms of, like, after the first Speed Project, a stress fracture for 4 months. Like, that was a big, huge setback that dented my confidence a lot, because I didn't think I could come back and operate, but I gave myself a long lead time, and I came back very stronger, and that gave me a true appreciation of myself and of the skill set of pushing forward, and thinking about the next day and not going. I'm a person that you can't go back in time. I never look back into time like, or filled with regrets. I naturally look forward, like, let's push forward. How can we push forward? What have we learnt? Let's push forward. So yeah, to take it back to confidence, no, I think a lot of my confidence to perform has come from sport. Sport's given me confidence quite a lot. I think, yeah, it's given me a lot of tools, a lot of life skills that I've used in professional and entrepreneurial life. 100%. Yeah.
And especially confidence through overcoming the setbacks.
Confidence through overcoming setbacks, confidence in performance, confidence in supporting my community. Like, I remember my first ever coaching at Adidas Runners, I was shitting my pants. I was a virgin startup then, and my colleague was like, "Oh, what's happened this evening?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm coaching for the first time." Like, "Wow, you look like you're gonna cry." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna perform," because I've always been coached, and that was January 2018. And I was passing on that coaching to others, and I was nervous, so nervous. But it was kind of the community that gave me that kind of confidence to push forward. So it goes back to that environment. That Adidas Runners is a good environment. It's not filled with dickheads. It's not filled with people that would dent your egos, people that will propel you. And we see it today, that people go on, keep on trying. And I think that's kind of the environment. I've always attracted myself to those kind of environments, not negative ones. Again, gratitude. I'm very fortunate to be in these environments that spur me to move forward, not ones that will dent your confidence or take it or make you feel small. So that first coaching gig, very nervous going into it. After I did it, fascinating. I was feeling on top of the world, because after that, like, now I can. Sometimes I have that kind of, if I haven't coached in a long time, I'm like, can I still do this? So everyone has that kind of small imposter syndrome. Am I even a good coach anymore? But then you take it back to your roots, like, yeah, I am. Like, I've come this far. And why have I lost coaching overnight? No, like, I just having a small kind of confidence lapse. But yeah, I wasn't always this confident, but running has given me those tools to push forward, and it's given me a purpose. And I think having a purpose supports that.
100%. And it feels like the situations that you've kind of almost like felt that fear and overcome a bigger obstacle are the ones that have given you the most kind of confidence.
Yeah, 100%.
So on that, if you could give yourself some advice from looking back the past, from where you were and where you are now, what would that be?
How can I articulate this? Essentially, it's like the laws of attraction, right? It's like what you seek is seeking you. Don't stop. Keep on seeking these positive environments. Keep on pushing forward. There's nothing negative, I would say. Like, if I was supposed to look back, speak to Ayo 10 years ago, yes, keep on doing what you're doing, but maybe go with a bit more intensity because you're young. So go with it, learn, fail. Why not? You're young, you're going to keep on pushing forward. Yeah, like, I'm 35 now. Yeah, I'll tell 25 Ayo, keep on going, push forward, learn more, attain more skills, grow your environment, your network, and yeah, just push forward with intensity whilst you've got the vigor and the energy, because the best time to do things is when you're young, where you have the opportunity to fail. Maybe you're living at home with your parents. You can afford not to earn some money for a few years. There's no burden for you. Like, you're less risk adverse compared to now. You're like, oh gosh, I've got a mortgage to pay. I need to do certain stuff. I'm getting married. So you need to just go with vigor, go with another level of energy. That's what I would say. Times it by 10. Go hard. 100%.
Now is the time you have the least responsibility. You will only ever gain responsibility. So if you want to do something, the best time
to plant that tree is now.
Just do it now.
Just right now, just do it. There is no tomorrow, there is no yesterday. You have to do it now. That's why inspiration is perishable. The moment you're inspired, get on it, because it could go like this. And I think that's what goes back to the Olympics 2012. Saw Mo Farah running. It's almost fate and acting on that inspiration, because I opened that newspaper, I saw Park run, I was like, I'm going to this. I don't know what it is, 5K time, 5K run, but I'm gonna do this. Let's see what happens. And that unlocked everything. If I hadn't gone to that park run, or if the Olympics hadn't been in London, who knows where my trajectory had gone. And I think that was almost the catalyst, the spark to that started this book. I think that was a new book of my life that started in 2012.
Did you have a gut feeling then that like just to like go?
I don't. Yeah, it's almost spiritual. Like just go to it. Wow, 5K. And also you're young. Like I was 23 there. I was like, 5K. Let me show them rule. I don't need to train for 5K. I didn't know what 5K meant. Let me just go see what happens.
Love it.
Turns out you're all right.
It turns out I wasn't too bad, right? Yeah. But again, I guess that environment was great. But I think for young people, there could have been an element to maybe, I think that's where kind of next stride comes in, because there'll be young people like that are going into these environments. They have they're low agency, they are performing, but they have that another level. Like, how can you support? I'm not saying maybe I could have turned that 21-minute 5K into representing Team GB. Maybe there could have been element. Maybe that wasn't my story. My story is what I'm doing now. But perhaps there are young people out there that have that talent, that potential, and they just don't know how to harness it. Like how maybe there's inspiration there for them, but how can they act on that inspiration there? So yeah, how do we kind of? I think that's a big thing with young people, is like, how do we really support them to go to that level? Because this is a young person's game sometimes. Like, it's the young people that will reshape and shape our environment, shape the way our politics, our social constructs. So like, we need to equip the young people with the skills so that we live a better life, essentially. Yeah.
Mate, incredible. You're sitting here today at 35 years old. What lessons do you think a 45-year-old I would say to you right now?
Do I say this?
Say it.
Don't slow down. I genuinely believe there's still much more to give. Like, I've still got that energy to give. So I just need to always remember that I've still got. I feel good. Like, in terms of like physically, mentally, why not keep on striking whilst the iron is hot? Because there'll be a time where I'll have to slow down and chill. But I guess you kind of say you only have one life, right? It's not a YOLO thing, but it's kind of YOLO with being focused. Like, it's not just like, it's like it's almost a strategic YOLO. So yeah, I'll tell 45. Yeah, if 45 was to speak to 5. Yeah, still keep on going, but don't slow down too much. Yeah, you're gonna have to slow down. You're gonna have a child. You're gonna get married. So, but be careful that you've still got energy to give. Yeah.
That will. That next phase will just crank up all your inspiration to the next level, mate. Trust me. Like six years of being a dad, it does. It just it inspires you in a whole new different way, mate. And I'm sure you can crank it up as well. Don't need to slow it down. You don't even have to stay the same.
Yeah, just crank it out. Just keep on cranking. Even if it's like marginal moves, just every year. And I think for me, is the last 5 years has been like that. Since the last time I saw you in 2020, when you came to Greenford.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, oh yeah, 100%. It's just cranking out. Even if it's small cranks, but no year has been the same. Like, it's always I always start every start of the year. I always start with a project.
Yeah.
This year was the same with Next Stride. Last year was like TSB. The year before it was Greenhouse Sports. It's always a project, and it comes from that environment, like of that.
It's very impressive that every year has like each of these projects is a tangible thing.
Yeah.
That there's evidence of you setting your mind to something and doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's testament to you and to anybody that wants to join your agency.
Yeah.
And you get results.
Yeah.
So look, thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate it, mate.
Before
So much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. You live with such enthusiasm and intention. I mean, I've been very fortunate to get to know you over the last sort of 5-6 years now, and I consider you a friend. And you know, we're super grateful that you made the time to come in today. And there's so much gold for people listening. Everyone, Ayo, can you tell us sort of if people want to know more about you and your story and all the different things that you're up to at Adidas Runners and your agency? What are some of the links that people can?
Sure, you can find me on Instagram at pure.io, and you can check out Next Stride at Next Stride. So that's NXT Stride on Instagram.
Amazing.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.